Today we're going to turn this into a mini pond. We're going to get into exactly what to plant, picking the location, why I chose this specific container, kinds of bugs that you can expect, and since I know you're going to ask, also what we're going to do about the mosquitoes. A mini pond is a really accessible way to add water to your garden and just increase the biodiversity and the strength of the ecosystem that you have in your own backyard. And you can pretty much put one anywhere. There's some size constraints and considerations to keep in mind, especially if you live somewhere that actually has really cold winters where you'll get a solid freeze. If you're trying to create a habitat where frogs can lay their eggs to overwinter, it's really important that that container is at least 2 feet deep. And of course, you can just dig a hole and line it with a pond liner. But I like this method because you can really put it just about anywhere and it's extremely durable. These are the trugs that are used for like livestock feed and stuff, and they're basically just indestructible. So all you have to do is dig a hole that's the size of this container and fill it up. Now, when we're filling it up, there's a few other considerations that we need to keep in mind, but just as far as like what to look for in a container, something really durable, a heavy duty rubber that's flexible is going to be ideal. So I will link this specific container down in the description for you if you want to grab one of these ones. This is the 20 gallon. And I want to see if I can really integrate it more into the landscape of this back area that we have going on that's kind of looking really neglected and needs some help. So for the biodiversity of your pond to be stable, the bigger you can make it, the better. But there is kind of a fine line between creating a container that's too big and one that can't self-sustain. So we need to make sure that we're adding in the right amount of plants so that it can create this biodiverse ecosystem. And you don't have to plant this in the ground. The reason I'm doing that is because I want it to be really accessible to the frogs and other wildlife. If you were to just put this container freestanding on the surface of the soil, it would evaporate a little bit faster and you'd only get like dragonflies and damselflies as your beneficial visitors, but that works too. So it's really an accessible way to add a water feature to your garden that doesn't require any electricity or pumps at this size. We're going to be using the plants to our advantage to make sure that it actually filtrates itself. So as far as location, you actually don't want your pond to be in more than 6 hours of sun per day. So anywhere from 4 to 6 hours is going to be an ideal amount of sunlight for your pond. Anything above that just encourages the growth of algae because it's going to stay warmer for longer, and that's what the algae is looking for. I would expect that you're going to have some algae regardless for the first year or two while the pond ecosystem kind of balances itself out. Like, we're kind of starting something from scratch here where it didn't exist before. So you do have to have some patience and allow it to be murky for a little while, and eventually it will clear itself up. So after you pick a location with about 4 to 6 hours of sunlight per day, you need to dig your hole. You need the hole to be the same size as whatever container you're using. You can use all sorts of things for this. You could use like one of those Rubbermaid storage totes. I just find that the plastic gets brittle really easily. So something that's meant for outdoor, like livestock, heavy duty use is going to be your best bet for a long-term solution. Once you have your container in the hole, you do need to add a layer on the bottom of some kind of gravel or stone, because this is the base from which like all of your wildlife is going to burrow down into. They need lots of like crevices and cracks in order to lay their eggs and just feel safe and secure in the pond. You can use gravel or aquatic substrate. I'm just using a collection of small stones that I found around my property. The one thing you don't want to do in a pond of this size is to actually add any like dirt or potting soil or silt to the bottom. It's going to collect itself naturally there over time. And if you add it from the beginning, you're basically just encouraging that algae to form because you're introducing even more nutrients. So it's a good idea to rinse off that substrate before you add it. Get everything as clean as possible to just give your pond a head start. Now, by far the most important part of building this pond, besides what plants you're going to put in it, is creating a lot of diversity in height. First of all, because a lot of those plants prefer different diversity in height. We've got plants that are marginal that only want to be a couple of inches deep, plants that float on the surface, and we also have plants that could go maybe up to a foot down. But we also need to create an access point for our wildlife to easily get in and out so we don't have any casualties. And we need to create more of those cracks and crevices at different heights because different wildlife is going to prefer different heights for laying their eggs and for sheltering. So we're going to continue layering in just various sizes and shapes of rocks. I mean, here in New England, we have no shortage of a variety of rocks that we can use, so I have just sourced these from all over the yard to fill up my pond with. Once you've got the actual base layer of the structure of the rocks inside of your pond, we're going to fill it up. When you're filling up your pond, you can use tap water, but with tap water, we just want to make sure we're allowing 24 to 48 hours for any chlorine to off gas from that pond before we add additional plants to it. The best thing that you can use for your pond is actually rainwater. So if you have a rainwater catchment system, this is a really great time to fill up your pond with this. Of course, you're going to be dealing with some evaporation in a pond of this size over the hot summer months, but typically you'll only need to add like an inch or two here and there as things dry out. And the best way to do that further into the season is also rainwater. So we have our container in the ground, we have our rocks in our container, we have our water in our container. Now, what about these plants, and what about these bugs, and what about these darn mosquitoes? I really wanted to focus in on just a few varieties for this pond to give it a head start, because I didn't want to overwhelm it with too many things right off the bat. So I'm starting with two natives and one that is kind of questionably invasive. Our first native that we're going to be including in the pond that is a great native to include, especially here in Zone 6B, is called pickerel weed. And pickerel weed has just these beautiful long stems with purple blooms on the end. The pollinators love it, and most people don't know that pickerel weed is actually also edible. Pickerel weed is what we call a marginal pond plant, which means it sits at the water's edge within a few inches of water. So it's a good idea to plant this in its own container, either with an aquatic substrate, or you can use a potting mix. I'm actually just going to be using some sand. So I've placed it in its own container, and I'm going to balance it on a ledge so that it's at the height that it needs and it has access to the nutrients that it needs while still being contained. And you can add a couple of rocks on top of that layer of potting medium so that the potting medium doesn't just go floating away into the pond. The next one is still native, but it is one that you're going to have to manage a little bit more aggressively. So we're less cultivating this one and more actually taking some out, because duckweed, while it is native, grows really fast and aggressively. And this is a floating plant, so it's literally just going to sit on the top level and surface of your pond. It kind of looks like it couldn't possibly be doing anything because it's such a tiny plant, but it's actually providing shade to the pond, which is going to help prevent that algae. It's going to uptake excess nutrients and oxygenate the water. It just does grow really fast. So because duckweed uptakes the nitrogen in the water, that's algae's primary food source. So if we have a competitor to the algae in the duckweed, we're less likely to have quite as much algae. At least that's the hope. Duckweed is just a wildlife magnet. Ducks eat it. I don't think we're going to be getting ducks in this pond, but they do. Frogs hide under it. The beneficial insects are going to use it. So this is just a really fun, cute little plant that you can add that is native to your pond. Our more invasive option is semi-aquatic, and this is water forget-me-not. This is a really low effort plant with tiny little blue flowers that's just gonna add some really nice height to the garden and hopefully create some shade in the pond. It prefers its roots to be just a little bit wet, so we'll add this one a little bit even higher up than our pickerel weed. And this one's just gonna soften the edges of the tubs visually, and it is hardy down to Zone 5, so it's gonna overwinter in the Massachusetts garden just fine. Speaking of overwintering, when we're talking about keeping a mini pond over the winter here in Zone 6B, there is the potential, even with it being 2 feet deep and buried in the ground, for it to freeze solid. And if that were to happen, all of the frog eggs and other beneficial wildlife that was attempting to overwinter there would not survive. So it's a good idea throughout the winter to just make sure you're cracking that top layer of lice so that oxygen can continue to get down to the bottom layers of the pond. So let's talk a little bit more about the maintenance that goes into your DIY mini pond, because outside of winter, there's a few things that you want to be keeping in mind throughout the entire growing season. First of all, we want to make sure that we're removing any of that excess duckweed so that it's not covering the entire surface of the pond thickly. Of course, we might need to be topping it off with rainwater if we have any dry weeks, and there is no need for a pump or a filter at this scale. It's going to be pretty much self-maintaining. You just want to leave it alone. It's actually a pretty low maintenance project once you get it in the ground. And I know everyone has a concern about the mosquitoes. I promise there's an ecosystem answer to this that I'll get to in a minute. But first, let's talk a little bit about the kind of beneficial insects and amphibians that are going to find your pond over the next couple of years, because it will take some time. Wildlife doesn't move in immediately. We need to be a little bit patient, which I'm not very good at. The first and fastest things that you'll see in your new mini pond are insects. Dragonflies and damselflies will be the first to move in, and they will lay larvae and eggs that will be present for the next 1 to 3 years in your mini pond. The water striders will most likely show up almost immediately, as well as the whirligigs. And you may be thinking, what the heck is the point of water striders and whirligigs? Since the water striders and whirligigs are predators of other things like mosquito larvae, they can help keep your pond in balance. Whirligigs are also going to scavenge dead insects that fall into your pond, which is a big part of how nutrients cycle through your pond's ecosystem. And yes, you are going to see some mosquito eggs, but probably not as many as you'd think. Before I explain that though, there's some bigger creatures that will make a home out of your pond eventually, including gray tree frogs and American toads. They'll even use a small tub like this to breed if it's accessible. If you're near a larger water source, you might even see some green frogs, and spotted salamanders will sometimes use a mini pond like this to lay their eggs in early spring. Robins, sparrows, and chickadees are all going to love to use this mini pond as a water source and a place to bathe. And if you plant that pickerel weed, could even attract some hummingbirds. That pickerel is going to pull in the bees too. So they're going to find the blooms, and then they're going to see this water source, and you're just going to be helping to support those beneficial pollinators throughout your whole garden. So you'll see insects within a few weeks. The frogs will probably be after a season or two. Right now we're just focused on building the habitat, and then things will get more interesting as time goes on. So why am I not worried about mosquitoes breeding in my mini pond? Mosquitoes need still, stagnant, unshaded, unoccupied water in order to breed. So a planted pond with any sort of ecological activity undermines that pretty quickly. The duckweed cover is going to break the tension that mosquito larvae need to breathe. Dragonfly and damselfly larvae are going to eat them underwater. Water striders are going to pick off anything that does make it to the surface. Frogs and toads are going to treat that larva as a food source. And the pickerel weed and the forget-me-not are going to shade the water, which is not what the mosquitoes prefer. The breeding ground scenario for mosquitoes is a neglected container. A bucket, a clogged gutter, a saucer under a pot with an inch of warm standing water. A planted pond that has even minimal wildlife activity and some shading is the opposite of that. The first few weeks that your pond is getting established, when the plants are minimal, there is the highest risk for that mosquito larva to find its way into your pond. So what you can do as a temporary measure, or long-term, if this is something that just makes you more comfortable, is add BTI into your pond. BTI is a naturally occurring bacteria that targets mosquito larvae specifically, that's harmless to everything else, and that will help your pond stay mosquito-free for the first season while that ecosystem catches up. I have been trying to get this pond in the ground for over a year and a half. The first time I had this idea, I then found out I was pregnant and I wasn't able to do it physically then. Now I've got the baby, and it's just been a whole time management thing of trying to get all these pieces in place, get everything together so that I could finally get this in the ground, because it's just been a vision that I've had for so long. So I'm so excited to see how this pond continues to grow and develop over the seasons. It truly is a fun, easy, accessible project that's just going to benefit every other part of your garden by increasing the biodiversity of your ecosystem. Let me know if you have any questions about my mini pond down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos like this one, and I'll see you next time.